I failed to learn programming. That's right. I failed many times, actually, probably dozens of times. And I wanted to do a video on some of the reasons why I think I failed. And hopefully, as I share these, there may be an encouragement to some of you out there who might be on the learning to program journey. Maybe you can get some insight from this. And I hope to do a follow-up video on what I think actually helped me learn programming after failing for so many times. So let's jump into it. I failed by only reading books. When I was originally learning many years ago, the easiest way, the most accessible way for me to learn programming was to get a programming book. So I'd have a book on C++. That was really popular at the time. I would type in all the examples. I would read through a lot of the chapters, get pretty far into the book, and then eventually I'd get to some point in the book where I would get stuck or get kind of confused, wouldn't know what to do, and eventually I would stop. Well, I tried that again. I would get another book, same language, maybe a new author, for example, and I would try that book, type in all the examples, somewhere get stuck around kind of the same place. I even tried switching languages. So I tried C. Oh, C++ is newer than C, so let's try C. C is older. And then later when Macs and iPhone programming, all that stuff got popular, I tried Objective-C, and it was pretty much the same kind of thing. I failed. And I think a lot of the reason was because I was trying to only learn through books. I failed by thinking I could do it all by myself. I could learn to program by myself, kind of in a silo, just me and a book, and I could just figure it out, and all of a sudden, applications and games would pop out. And that just simply wasn't the case. I also failed because what I was producing didn't look anything like what I wanted to make. Give you an example. A lot of the books I was reading through had you learn how to code a little terminal or a console application. And it was just like words on a little screen, like a black little screen. How old are you? Oh, I'm 12. Or, what's your name? Oh, I'm Jesse. And you type in these things, and then you would respond with if statements and for loops and things like that. And it didn't look like the GUI apps that did cool things. It didn't look like the games that I was playing that I wanted to learn how to make that looked really awesome. And that was discouraging because what I was learning didn't look anything like, from what I could tell at the time, the end product. I got discouraged. And I think that's another reason why I failed. I failed by giving up when things got difficult. There's a point in a lot of the times when I was reading through one of these books where I would get stuck. It felt too hard. It felt too difficult. And eventually I ran out of options, or I ran out of perseverance, and I gave up. And because I gave up, I failed. I didn't actually learn. Another reason I think I failed is because I didn't have a roadmap. I didn't have a good roadmap. I didn't have a solid game plan. I didn't really know the steps needed, the skills needed to actually learn how to make applications, to actually make games. My roadmap, my plan was read a book on programming, learn how to program. And that simply wasn't enough. It wasn't a good enough roadmap. It could have started as a roadmap, and I learned more in the process of what I needed to learn next, but it by itself was not a good roadmap or plan, and so I failed. And lastly, I failed because I didn't really understand the scope, how big of a task, how complicated learning program would be. I failed because I underestimated how many different things I was going to need to learn to actually learn programming. For example, you need to learn graphics. If you want to actually have things pop on the screen, you need to learn about graphics and how to make GUIs, and you'll need to know things like state management and how to work with sounds and music and databases and networking and all of these different things. These things all come together to make advanced programs or games and things like that. And I underestimated and didn't really know how much went into learning programming. And so I failed. But it didn't end there, because I eventually learned later in life. And I hope in my next video to provide some tips and tricks and things that I did and things that I learned in the process of failing over and over and over again to finally learning. And I did it on my own. I still did it without a CS degree, without a boot camp, coding boot camp. So I hope to share that. And if you like this, like, subscribe, comment, let me know. And look forward to you joining me for the next video. See you soon.